creating word tables and using word tables. You can create a word table by going to the Insert tab on the ribbon and clicking on the table icon here, Table command in the Tables group. Once I've selected this drop-down, I'm going to choose to create a 2x2 table. Now, a table is a place to organize data and enhance the layout of your document, and a table consists of cells arranged in rows and columns. Might feel like you're working with a spreadsheet in Excel. A cell is an intersection between a column and a row, and this is where you can place your data. So suppose I type in something like this. If I want to go over to the next cell, I can press Tab, and once I'm there, I can continue on typing some more information. But before I enter any more data, let's look at the ribbon up here in the contextual tab called Design under Table Tools. You'll notice Table Tools also offers another contextual tab called Layout. We'll get to Layout in just a few minutes. On the Design tab of the ribbon, you'll note Table Styles as one of the groups. Here we find, once we point to a table style, that Live Preview will take over and give us a preview of what that style will look like. If we want more styles, we can certainly go over here to the scroll bar and click on the down arrow or up arrow, as the case may be, and scroll up or down one row at a time. If we want more styles, we can point to this icon here, and when we click on it, we will be seeing a lot more table styles in one glance. If we wish to make so that we can see part of our table and we can also see more than one row of our table styles, do you notice how I went to the bottom right hand corner on this three dotted edge here, and once I've got a double-headed arrow I can click and drag up or down accordingly. I'm going to choose this table style here. It's called Light Shading Accent 4. Once I've clicked, you'll see that the attributes associated with that style has come into play. I can certainly enter more data at this point, but firstly I'm going to just give you some movement keys in which to move around your table instead of clicking. I've already talked about Tab, and if I press Tab again, you can see how I go to the second row in this case, and I'm in the first cell. If I want to, I can work with the Shift tab, and when I do that, it brings me back to the cell that's previous to where that cursor's flashing. And in some cases, like this one, I go back up to the top row and the last cell. I can certainly use my up arrows or down arrow, left or right, and I can move in those directions. I'm going to create another table as a review here and then insert some data. So I go back to the Insert tab, Table Command in the Tables group, and I'm going to insert a 2x4 selection. And once I click on this grid area, you can see I've got 2 columns by 4 rows. Let's say I'm going to type in name and then title. And as I tab, I go to the next available cell. And as I'm also typing, I can certainly see that that cursor is waiting for me in the next position. I've typed in enough information for now. Let's save the file. It's going to be a Word document, so now I'll save. Suppose I want to select a column or a row for the purpose of maybe formatting or editing. As I hover over this column, you can see that I've got a black down arrow. So when I click, it will select this column. When I point to this area, you can see a white arrow. When I click once, you'll see that it selects the entire row. If I'm inside of the table and I get a black arrow pointing upwards and I click once, you'll see how it selects just that cell. So, black down arrow, column. White arrow, upwards to the right, pointing white arrow, row, and black arrow, it's one cell. There are a few ways to select the entire table. Firstly, at the top left-hand portion of the table, you can see this four-headed arrow. If I click once, I can select the table. Lastly, if I'd rather, I can go to Table Tools, Layout tab, and once I'm here, I can certainly work with selecting the table or any parts of the table by going to the table group here, choosing the Select command, and once I'm here, pick the appropriate selection. Maybe now I want to insert a column. What I can do is click on the column that I'd like to have the new column be placed. In other words, if I want a new column here, I click and select this column, and all content will be pushed over to the right. But I have some other options in that I can insert a column to the left of what's selected or to the right. When I go to the Table Tools Layout tab, this time Rows and Columns group, I can see Insert. Insert above, below, left, or right. I'm going to choose left, and you can certainly see how the other columns have been pushed over to the right. One more time, and yet another column. If I'd rather delete, you can see how in the Rows and Columns group, Delete command is present. When I click on the down arrow, I've got choices like delete cells, columns, rows, or even the entire table. If I want to move a column, I can highlight that column, point to that group, and when I'm clicking and dragging, I release the mouse and that column and all of its contents is moved exactly where I had dropped the cursor. I'm going to take out one additional column here, and once I do, I'm ready to type in some additional data. So I'm going to type in abbreviation and COO for the title's abbreviation. I've entered in some more data, and suppose I want to add another row at this point. I certainly can go to the Rows and Columns group and choose one of the insert choices, or if I press Tab, you can see how my cursor is taken to a fresh new row in the first cell of that row. When I'm at the last cell of any table and I press Tab, automatically a new row is inserted. I took out that row, but now I'm going to insert a row above this row that I've got selected. Once I choose Insert Above, I'm now going to merge these cells so that I can have one large cell to put in a main title. I go to the Merge group, still under Table Tools Layout, and then I choose Merge Cells. Once I do that, you can see all of the cells that were selected have become one large cell. I'll type in my heading, and perhaps I might want to now center. So I can go to the Alignment group, and when I'm here, pick one of the alignment choices. I'll work with Align Top Center, and when I click, you can see how this content has now been centered across this cell. Now I'm going to quickly format the table. Back at Table Tools, Design tab, let's work with one of the table styles. I'll choose Light Shading Accent 1. To complete the look, I'm going to select rows 3, 4, and 5, go to the Borders command, and choose any one of these choices here, or I can go to the Borders and Shading dialog box and work with the dialog box here to set a border. I'll choose a 1-point width line above, also known as top, and I'll choose a 0.5, half a point, for the middle. Once I click OK, you can see how, and after I deselect, you can see how I've got some lines here now in between all of the rows.